Okay. Well, first, I want to thank Alan for inviting us. It's always fun to come over here and be part of things at Strecker Nelson West. I was an early artist. I showed with Julie Strecker, then with Jay and Barbara Nelson at Strecker Nelson, so I'm thrilled to be part of this third iteration of Strecker Nelson West.
Yay!
I am really intrigued with the fact that I sent Alan some images recently, and they
yeah. I was about to say.
represented two completely different parts of my work. I would like to talk first about these two pieces, which are from my very recent Ship of Fools. We are living currently in a very interesting time. It's turbulent, it's chaotic, a lot of unknowns. We're dealing with immigration, terrorism, a pandemic, racial issues, political, well, probably one of the most politically interesting situations I have certainly seen in my lifetime. So I thought, you know, as an artist, I am a communicator. It is my job to look at what we're dealing with and to respond to it. Now, there are different ways that artists respond to things. Any creative will respond to things. And I chose to delve right in. There was a time when my political work was, many years ago, was a little more vague, a little less in your face. Well, I'm old now, and I decided that I had paid my dues of being subtle, and I was just going to put it out there. So, the Ship of Fools, this one is called The Refutation.
I'm gonna get closer to this one. We'll do them like, yeah,
Okay.
go on specifically so people can really see it while you're talking about it. So, all right, we're good.
The refutation simply means the denial. It's very obvious that the ship is going down. The waters are rough and stormy. There are people abandoning ship. No one is picking them up. There are some survivors. There is a figure up here that shall remain nameless who is saying it's a hoax. This is Greta Thunberg.
Okay.
And she is in this lifeboat telling all of us about you know, what's going to happen if we don't make some changes. Now, as is usually the case in my Ship of Fools pieces, no one is driving the ship, as it were. No one is steering the ship. There are never any oars to paddle the lifeboats. Things are pretty much unknown. No one seems to be taking control. In this piece, I have referenced another cultural influence, and that is Alice in Wonderland. This is the Mad Hatter's Tea Party. Now, red hats seem to be common these days with various sayings across them. And so this is the Mad Hatter. Here's the White Rabbit. You can fill in whichever character you feel is appropriate there. As usual, no one is driving the ship. The boat is...
Oh, turn it back around, not me. Sorry. Sorry.
The boat is rusty, it's cracked. There are people who are trying to get in but are being ignored, and in this case, even being told to go away. There are people tooting their own horns. They're enjoying this lovely tea party despite what's going on around them. Here is Lady Liberty, looking a little worse for wear. The flag is definitely not in very good shape, and as you can see, the stars are missing. These are kind of nightmarish, surreal, in-your-face type works, but I don't feel in good conscience that I can ignore and pretend nothing is going on. You know, we're speaking earlier about art being long-term. Well, these are a statement about what's going on today. When I first started doing my women series back in 1992, I was leery of using surreal imagery and dark colors, and I thought, is anyone going to like them? And then I thought, well, I don't care, I like them. And there's something that I need to say. And so all of this whole series about the Ship of Fools, all of my work about women, all of my work in the men series, all of my work when I put them together, all of these things make statements about our present day situation, and to my point, they will be probably still in existence many years from now, and if nothing else, people will know what I thought about the world at this time. I do a lot of research for my work. I am obviously influenced by people who paint oceans and ships. I'm fascinated with water. I'm fascinated with light. Light is obviously something that has informed my work for many years. Without light, you have no form. And so I have studied light quite a bit. I enjoy in my work the act of drawing. And to me, drawing is the underpinning for any painting. I don't use projectors to trace. I draw from scratch on everything because to me that is part of the work. To really understand the form, to really make it personal, I have to actually make all of the marks myself. Some of them aren't always correct. I remember Joan Foth said to me one time, you know, your work reminds me a little bit of Lucas Cranach. It's almost right, but not quite. And I thought, you know, I was complimented, of course, because I love the Northern Renaissance artists. But I also thought, you know, that's true, and it's okay, because that makes the work uniquely mine. Yeah. Since then, I've tried to study anatomy a little more closely, but I thought that was sort of an interesting turning point. I've had a number of professors over the years who have perhaps said one thing to me that has stuck with me. Ed Navone called me a colorist, which just floored me because it was my first year of painting. Jim Muntz said, "How do you want the form to function?" He sits right here when I draw or paint. How do I want that form to function? Thank you, Jim Muntz.
And I was thinking when I was looking at these, this one over here reminds me of the St. Cecilia series.
Where they're drowning in the boats.
They're drowning in the boats.
The trio, slash duo.
Yes, trio slash duo, yes. So I specifically thought of that earlier this evening when I'm looking at it, going, wait a minute.
Jim's work has been an influence. Yeah. Another interesting influence was Lester Rayner. I have done artist residencies at his studio, and I sort of lived with his work for a week at a time, several times over. And I think that entered into my work rather strongly when I was doing the sort of clown-like figures.
Yes, and someone who certainly knows of what she speaks is saying that this reminds her of Jericho's Raft of the Medusa.
Yes, very much. Yes, I was channeling.
Jericho, okay.
Yes,
wonderful.
Very definitely. I am influenced by painters of that period, that very emotional,
yes.
Delacroix and Caravaggio, of course, was earlier, but the light and the dark, the shadows.
I was wondering when you were talking about the sea and the waves and all that, and who inspires you throughout the breadth of art history for the oceanic scenes.
Yes, very much so. All of the above, and yet I also watch television, and you would be surprised how many images there are on television of people in boats and on the water. So here I am with my camera doing research.
Okay.
Because I want to see these people as today's citizens. You know, not Lady Liberty. But,
leading the people, yes.
Right,
okay, right.
But contemporary citizens of the world, and their clothing and their body language. And so I don't want to be a painter who's lost in the past. I want to be a painter who takes that influence, but is definitely in her own time.
Yes, yes.
So, so we can move.
So we can move. I let
Some
Amy
lovely
handle
florals.
the camera.
Yes. You want to start? We'll just shift over here. Okay. I think we're
Actually, I'm gonna. So one of the things that I find so charming about Barbara is that we go from these deep political statements to just absolute beauty, and I have one of her orchids in my home, and it's just so calming and special. Okay, now you can go, Barbara.
Thank you, Alan, for your kind words. Thank you. You know, even with everything going on in the world and all of the unknown factors and the worry and the, how we're coping and with this whole new normal, if we ever find it, the world still contains beauty. It still contains good. And I also love to do that. And you know, sometimes you need a break from the intensity of work like that. Not that these don't require intensity in the drawing, you know, the careful rendering, making sure the wash and the color and everything all right. But these engage in a different way. And I teach watercolor privately. I have a few private students, and it's a wonderful excuse to keep up with my watercolor. Also, and let me back up. People ask me all the time, well, what's your favorite medium? Do you love oil or do you love watercolor? It's a very difficult question to answer because actually I love both, and for different reasons. I mean, each of them gives me something the other one doesn't. And it's nice to switch back and forth because they are total opposites. You have to think completely differently when you are doing this, because here you have the light and you go to the dark. With the oil, you have the dark and you go to the light. So, you know, you flip your thinking. But interestingly, the work grows off of each other. Things that I learn in my oil or in my watercolor will affect something I do in the other one. Also, design, color theory, the whole composition principles, all of that's exactly the same. It doesn't matter which medium you're using. Planning, I have to plan, I have to think. I cannot do art and not think. It's part of the whole process. And these are not really recent works, but they are works that I have always liked. And so I was tickled when Alan asked me to show them. I sent her the images and she said, oh, these are gorgeous, I want them. So that was great. But in the watercolor, I think especially, my whole engagement with light and with color theory and form is really much more evident maybe than in the darker pieces. Now, I also do florals in oil. I do landscapes in both oil and watercolor. I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's what the hand. If I'm in my studio over in Noto, I work primarily in oil. But if I'm at home in my studio, you know, it's kind of a pain to have two studios because inevitably what you need is at the other one. But it's wonderful because I can turn off my thinking about one project and go into another project. Larry, would you bring me those two books, please? Two books.
Yeah, I guess. You want to talk about that one first?
Okay, I just wanted to, speaking of watercolor, I wanted to emphasize that one of the things that I have been doing in recent years is illustrating books. And I use watercolor to do that. And this book that I illustrated was written by my friend, Glendon Buckley, and we won a book award for that, which was
Cute.
Exciting. This was our first one. Another thing that I do is book covers for authors, which I thoroughly enjoy doing. I love the whole collaborative process. And speaking of a collaboration, this is a collaboration I did with poet Dennis Etzel Jr. He was going on a sabbatical, and he invited me to be part of his sabbatical project, which was an honor. And his poetry and my visual images are in our book. We had an exhibition, and we are planning another exhibition at the Mulvane Art Museum sometime in 2021.
Right.
I only bring all of this up. I'm not trying to toot my horn here, but I wanted to talk about just briefly how an artist can be part of the community in many, many ways. You know, not just sitting in the studio painting, but doing other projects and being involved in things that keep the arts out there. And in this time that we're living in right now, the arts are extremely important. So I think that takes care of me. Does anyone have any questions?
Does anyone have any questions?
Alrighty, all right, let's
I'm
see.
supposed to tell you from Dave Woolard that you're awesome.
Yes, yes, that was the comment
on
on your ship. I keep wanting to say ships of fools, but ship of fools. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
Ship of Fools
But there's a series.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's a whole series.
it's a whole series. Oh, Larry has a question.
Has a question.
Apparently, you haven't answered all of his questions over the years.
Apparently not.
How long have you been married?
34 years.
34 years. And he still doesn't get it.
Question, but would you comment on how we keep our separate spaces because of how we differ in our work attitudes and what we listen to?
So the question was, I don't know if the mic picked up, Larry. We are still having some mic issues, which we're going to correct before the next one. Larry asked, how do two artists who are married and obviously staying at home keep their spaces separate and musical tastes? Was that your question? What was, you said you have two different...
How we don't interfere with each other.
Don't interfere with each other.
Okay, that's a wonderful question. And we have used this question many times in our Dog and Pony show to explain how we get along. Larry has a work ethic of noise and music and mess. And
Wow, that sounds just like Kevin.
yes, this has been amazing. Out of these things comes marvelous work. I love his work. I think if we had not respected each other as artists, had not really enjoyed each other's work, we probably wouldn't have gotten married. I, on the other hand, have a completely different working method. Total quiet. Absolutely. I won't say I'm not a little bit messy. That would be, I think, a little bit stretching the truth.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
However, I no music, nothing. I must
No.
have total. Thank you. I must have total quiet. And so we shared a studio right after we were married. And it was the first time I had ever shared a studio. Now, he probably had as a potter,
Sure.
but as a painter, only in college had I shared a studio.
And all those days, yeah.
But I had worked solo for years. So this was different. When we moved to where we are now, we were still kind of sharing the studio space, because the other part of the basement was the TV room. So we were in only half of the basement. loud music happened, and I could not stand that.
And this was pre-noise canceling headphones. Yeah.
So I suggested and purchased a set of headphones.
Oh, okay.
Presented them to himself.
Oh, for him. Yes.
For him.
Yes.
I thought he can listen to his music. Everything will be quiet. It'll be wonderful. There was only one little detail that I had not considered. He sang along. Now, my husband can sort of sing, but without the musical accompaniment, it lacks something. So anyway, we have.
Well, that's why he's a potter and a ceramicist and not a singer.
That's right. He has other talents. But I tell you what, the cross-pollination of our work has been, I think, good for both of us.
Sure.
He sort of, in a way, gave me permission to loosen up from where I was back in the mid-'80s. He taught me to let go, to make a schlick of paint here or there. Of course, I don't do much of that. But anyway.
But you have permission to.
I have permission
Yes.
should I want to.
If you want to.
And I think that I have influenced him a little bit because when we married, his work was brightly colored, beautiful work, every color in the rainbow. Now
we're
also
black, brown.
the crow and
It's beautiful.
Raven
Well.
may have sort of sneaked into his work.
Oh, the answer is corvid. They're both corvids.
They're corvids.
Yes, they are corvids.
Grackles and
Oh, corvids. Oh, the birds. The birds.
Well, and another thing that influenced my color palette of the day, another thing that influenced my color palette now is that for the last over 20 years I've been working on Holocaust works.
Well, that.
And there went the bright, light, cheerful colors.
Sure.
So, and also, when we're talking about music, I have a very eclectic music collection. Ranges from all the way from Bob Dylan to the Box. And my favorite music is still the Baroque classical period.
Baroque classical. Wow. Okay.
I got into listening to a lot of the heavy rock and plus things like Bob Dylan because I was working not during prime time of my day. I was still fully employed. I needed something that punched me up.
Okay. And music can do that. That's the symbiosis between all the different types of art that are so important in our lives. Yes.
you
So,
wanna step in there. And you should give words in front of the camera.
I
instead
should
of
give
behind.
words in front of the camera. Oh, I don't like being in front of the camera. Although Charlotte's is my top. Goes
Well,
right
you.
in.
How about you all?
All right,
You want to stand
Charlotte, get
together?
back in here. Charlotte, we're taking the mask off. Very briefly, we will be here for less than a minute, so be good. And I am so blessed to have these wonderful people in my life. And thank you, Charlotte. And I'm so grateful that you have all joined us. And if you're joining us later, thank you for tuning in. And of course, check us out on snwgallery.com. And we are here for you. We want you to stay safe, healthy. We want the best for everyone, including beautiful art. So if you decided that your walls need a little help, we're here for you. So thank you, Larry and Barbara and Charlotte, for being here with us this evening. Thank you, Amy, for the video. And thank you, Mary, for photo.
Just around the corner.
What? Vanna White. She was Vanna White.
She did. She did the Vanna White.
Vanna White. And I'm so grateful for the wonderful team I have here. And for my husband, who has brought out the best in me. I like to think
Yeah.
I'm still working on getting the best out of him. Anyway, thank you. We will see you next time. We have another artist reception on the 21st of August with Lisa Grossman, Sue Godwin, and Nancy T. That'll be a great one. And we hope you'll keep following us on, tune in and keep following us on Facebook. All right. Thank you all.
All right.
Yay! Somebody said you were her hero.
Oh my God.
Who was that?
Hero? I don't remember.
Oh, it was
I
just
can't
a
go
little
back.
bit.
You can probably find it.
Ah!
Maybe look afterwards.
Yeah, afterwards.
We'll finish. We'll wrap this up
Barbara
now.
is my hero.
Oh.
That's what it says.
Kathleen Bergman. Thank you, Kathleen.
Yes, thank you, Kathleen.
Kathleen